Welcome to the Baseball Aficionado. I'm your host, Santos. Happy to be with you guys once more. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 3. I am Santos, and of course, I'm happy to announce I have a guest for this episode. His name is Yussiff Díaz. And before I introduce him, though, let's pay the bills real quick. This episode, as all the episodes, is sponsored by my company, which we specialize in Latino inspired baseball apparel, Santos Threads. Check out santos-threads.com. Get 15% off of your first purchase when you put in the promo code Aficionado at checkout. We got tees, we got hats, paying tributes to the legends of Latino baseball of yesteryear and present. And of course, check us out. So santos-threads.com. And of course, I want to invite everybody to make sure you check us out on social media, the Baseball Aficionado. And without further ado, I want to welcome this guest because this man, Yussiff Díaz, who he is the aficionado, another aficionado like myself, right? But expert of not just Cuban baseball, but baseball all over the Caribbean. And I brought him here because I want to talk a little bit about his venture, Pelota Cubana, a little bit about some of the stuff of yesteryear, things that we've seen in the past. And we can go forever. We talk offline all the time. This man was one of the first to embrace me when I first started on this venture. So I'm happy to bring him in. And it's only right that he's the very first guest on the Baseball Aficionado. So without further ado, I want to bring in, welcome to the show, Yussiff Díaz.
Hey, what's up, Santos? What's going on, man? Well, I had to embrace you, man. You do a great job. Whoever doesn't embrace you doesn't know anything about baseball. You're very unbiased, and I don't agree with all your lists, but they're very well put together, bro. You do a great job, bro. You do a great job.
I appreciate that. And you guys too, because, and before we talk about obviously what you do with Pelota Cubana, you guys do a good job, but you seemingly have tentacles everywhere, which we'll talk about that. But like, I mean, you guys cover everything. Like if somebody, vamos a decir, si alguien se afeitó anoche, we'll know about it. Like a Cuban player or whatever. So tell everybody about Pelota Cubana and what you guys do.
Well, basically, we're independent news media, independent of the Cuban government. Don't confuse us with those guys. But we basically cover Cubans everywhere. MLB, Japan, Korea, uh, Chinese Taipei. There's a Cuban American in Chinese Taipei. We cover them too. Liga Mexicana de Béisbol, Liga Venezolana. That's going to start right now. The Liga Mayor is called. Basically, any league, summer, winter, fall, wherever there's a Cuban, we're there to cover them. So we do, and it doesn't matter if they're part of the Cuban Federation or not part of the Cuban Federation. We try to keep, even though politics always creeps its way into Cuban baseball, we try to keep it out if possible.
It is so hard too because, right, when you think about Cuba, which I think about Cuba, I think about the ones who kind of blaze a trail. You hear the stories about how a lot of them, the Cubans they went everywhere and kind of spread the game, and they really were the pioneers for what would be known as obviously el primer siglo de la Serie de Caribe, la primera época,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So tell me about what that means to you.
Well, first of all, before I start, gotta give you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
credit
go.
too. You gotta give you guys credit too. Puerto Rico's always been an island where they play great baseball. Basically, Puerto Rico's one of the founders of the Serie del Caribe. Puerto Rico probably has the best team to ever play in a Serie del Caribe. The 1995 five Senadores de San Juan. But yeah, Cuba. Remember, Cuba's the country that's been playing baseball the second longest. The United States brought the game to us. We brought it to the Caribbean. But
Right.
aside what's going on today in Cuba, baseball will always be in Cuba's blood. And when these people are gone, baseball will return. The Serie Nacional has gotten, is diluted because everybody's leaving. Like, why would I want to stay in a country where, first of all, I'm not making any money? I'm making 305,000 Cuban pesos a month, playing at 10 in the morning and getting fed real bad. When I have a smidgen of talent and I can get out of that line and make money, like the Cuban Federation doesn't get it. They just drop the ball when it comes to treating these players. They treat these players like property. Like Remember when the famous guy with the beard? I'm not gonna say his name because I don't want to give him
No,
any
no,
publicity.
let's not. We don't need to.
Yeah, when he called the Major League Baseball pelota clava, it's the opposite.
Right.
The pelota clava is on the island when they treat players like if they're pieces of meat. But Cuba still has an array of talent, and it just needs to be developed. And they're leaving every day. Sub 13, sub 15, sub 12. You're gonna see a lot of Cuban players now. No longer will you see Yoani Cespedes, Jose Abreu, Alexei Ramirez, guys that are ready to go from the Cuban League to major leagues. You're gonna see a lot of young kids that are gonna be developed in major league systems. They'll probably even be better players than these guys were because now they
Right.
have a now they come ready to be they don't have to make any adjustments to the professional game. And I got some breaking news for you. I'm gonna give it to you
Go ahead. Let's
on the
break it.
podcast.
Let's break it.
Uh, Outfielder Andy Pajes has been promoted to the major leagues by the Los Angeles Dodgers. Pajes,
Ah, good news. Yeah.
yeah, top prospect. And got something else for you. Yasiel Puig hasn't played a game yet in Mexico. There's some kind of mysterious injury there. I don't know. I'm still investigating this, but I was told there's some kind of injury there.
Oh my God. And you know, we talked offline about, I mean, Yasiel Puig, one of the most enigmatic talents we've ever seen from anywhere. Forget just from Cuba, from anywhere. I mean, the guy
Yeah,
is
super
several
talented.
sandwiches short of a picnic. Um,
Probably a whole picnic show. Picnic, but
right, right. With so
uh,
much talent, right? So much talent, and like a 2 cent. What is it? What is the saying? Million
yeah,
dollar body,
2 cent brain.
whatever. Right, right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh, Ozzie Guillen hit it on the head during the City of Cali when he said, "There's not four outfielders on a roster better than Yasiel Puig. Yasiel Puig should be in the major leagues,
Right,
but
right.
his his, his conduct keeps him from there because his talent is you can't argue that.
Nope.
The guy
Yep.
has
Yep.
the guy has one of the best arms in the outfield that I've ever seen. I mean, an arm
Yeah. A rifle.
comparable to Vladdy Guerrero compared to Jose Guillen. I wouldn't say Roberto Clemente because I don't want to put him in the
No, no.
same
I
the same
know. I
breath.
know. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but he has that kind of arm. He has that kind.
Raúl Mondesi.
Yeah, 5'2" guy. In fact, that's his perfect comparison
Raúl
because
Mondesi.
they're very similar guys in their talent and the way they conducted themselves in a locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. Very enigmatic.
Now you mentioned, and we, you know, you mentioned obviously what's going on with the Cuban ball players, and you know, I made a reel about this too in the past where I've talked about how the percentages, right, relative to the number of Cuban players is not, the numbers aren't there where you would like for them to be, but the
Yeah,
impact, right,
yeah,
is there. And you talked about prospects being recently called up, but
yeah.
I wanted to ask you about uh Yadier Rodriguez because he was the first Cuban player to, which I didn't know, first Cuban starting pitcher ever for the Toronto Blue Jays, which is surprising because they're like one
Yeah,
of the most international franchises
yeah.
ever. Talk to me about Yadier Rodriguez. What do you project his future and whatever, you know, what is his upside?
He's looked good in his first start. He looked 6 strikeouts, but
Yep.
I don't know. My opinion of Yadiel, I think he's gonna be a good reliever. I don't cause see in Cuba he was a starter. He's from Camagüey,
Hmm.
from the Camagüey province. But when they took him to Japan, remember he started his first 2 years with Chunichi Dragons. But for some reason the Dragons made him a actually a setup man to Rydell Martinez, his countryman. Is probably the best closer in Japan. But
Right, right,
he's a guy that can hit. Eventually, will be able to hit triple digits on the gun.
right, right.
But the problem is, if you look at the World Baseball Classic, after the third inning, his velocity dramatically drops off.
Okay.
Maybe he could work on that and get some more stamina, and then he could be a starting pitcher. Now, is he a world class talent? Of course, he has an array of his heater and his the breaking pitches he developed in Japan has a good slide, a good changeup. He's a guy when he's on, he's unhittable. Well, you saw. I think he gave up one hit in was it 3 2/3 or was it 4 innings that
Right.
they
So
pitched?
I think it was something like that. It was around there. That was
Yeah,
one thing that I noticed what you said. I'm glad you brought it up as far as that. Like he seemed to run out of gas, and I think that has to do with pacing yourself and knowing when to hit those triple digits, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the ball explodes off his hand. I mean,
World class talent. World
yeah,
class talent.
yeah,
His build, when you look at him, he's very similar build to Jose Fernandez. Not to
yes.
say,
I was
not
gonna
to,
say that.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not to say he's as
Thick. He's
talented as Jose
thick.
Fernandez.
He's thick.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
got a thick body. Yeah,
Thick, big
big
guy,
guy.
overhand delivery. No, he's tough to hit. I've been following this kid since he was 18, 19 years old in Cuba, and I've always told people the thing is he added more pitches to his repertoire in Japan. That made him a better pitcher. Because I remember seeing him in 2019. We were at some that there's a friendship series between Cuba and the United States, and I was sitting with a scout from the Colorado Rockies, and I asked him, I was like, hey, what do you think about Yariel? He's like, I would sign him, but he's a one inning guy. I was like, why? Because he only throws a fastball and he only has a slider. That's all he had back then. But now he's added more pitches and he looks good. Well, he looked good against a pretty good Netherlands team in the World
Yeah,
Baseball Classic. And then he threw against Australia, I think, right? Was it? Yeah.
right,
He threw
right.
against Australia. He looked good. But the only thing sometimes he when he gets tired, he tends to get wild. And that's when he gets in trouble.
And I think, like you said, I think he's young enough also where he can work on that. Obviously, he was being developed in the farm system a little more because he had
Yeah.
to, roughen, loosen up. What is it? He had to kind of smoothen out some of
Yeah.
those rough, like you said, those edges. But
Yeah.
I think that the talent is there. At the worst, at the very worst, like you said, he could be a back end reliever slash closer.
Listen,
That the stuff,
listen.
his stuff plays. His stuff
And
plays.
in fact, I think Toronto got an actual bargain. 32 million for him is pretty cheap, considering the talent
Yeah.
you got. Because you, all right, you didn't get something from Cuba. You got a finished product from Japan. You just had to
Right.
adjust that product to the major leagues because it's two different leagues. But no, yeah, Riel's he's a world class talent. But you got some other guys coming from that farm system. You got this
Yeah.
kid named left-hander from Cielo Avila. His name is Kendry Rojas.
Kennedy
Left-handed
Rojas.
kid, throws hard as hell. Excuse my language. He throws
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
hard.
No, you.
He's very tough, and his baseball's in his genes. His uncle played center field for the Cuban team. His uncle, what's his uncle's name? I forgot his uncle's name. It's it's it slips my mind. His uncle actually played in the 2016 Serie del Caribe for Cielo de Avila. What's his uncle's name? Slipped my mind. It'll come to me later.
The
But
name, el apellido me suena.
yeah, no, because his uncle's last name is not Rojas. His uncle's last name is he was a center fielder actually for the Cuban team. Pero
Yeah.
him and his brother plays for the Padres. His brother is named Yendry Rojas.
Okay.
But and they're both signings were January 15th, right? They're both January 15th signings, and they're both ultra talented. His brother's a shortstop.
Nice. Nice. Well, we're
Pero,
looking out for him. Yeah.
but that kid, he's probably gonna be a top end starter. They got him. I think they paid $1 million for him in the international free agency, but he's gonna work out. I saw him. His mom. I talked to his mom all the time, and I've talked to him. I've actually interviewed him, but the kid is a top end talent. Fastball, curve, changeup. He has like four. He has like 4 or 5 pitches, and from the left side, throwing 97 miles an hour. That's very, very, very,
That's
very, very
rare. It's
scary.
rare.
It's scary.
Rare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, it's
Yeah.
scary. Scary.
You know what's funny? So, talking about from the left hand side, I'm glad we segue into that because remember we talked about obviously we talked about Rodriguez and possibly in the future he could probably be a closer if it doesn't pan out as a starter, right?
Yeah,
I want to talk about another person who I don't think gets enough love for his career as far as a Hall of Famer. Now, I'm a very harsh critic with Hall of Famers, right?
yeah.
As far as judging Hall of Fame, I'm harsh. I'm very strict with that, right? I look at Adolis Chapman. I look at the strikeouts per innings. I look at the consistency. I look at the saves, not just the saves, because saves are very misleading, right? Saves are about usage. But my
Yeah.
point is to put it in short, I think I view Aroldis Chapman as a Hall of Famer. I
I
think I
will.
do. I gotta be honest. What do you think about that?
I get to vote in 5 years for the Hall of Fame.
Hmm.
If Arodis gets to 400 saves, he has my vote. Arodis is probably aside from Mariano Rivera the most dominant closer we've ever seen. A guy who's
Yes.
thrown 105 miles an hour. A guy
Yeah.
who's developed a guy who's developed a
Ridiculous.
changeup. Yeah, a changeup, a slider. He throws a sinker too. He's a guy who came from Cuba as a raw pitcher. He was a starter in Cuba,
I remember.
and,
Yep.
for he's from Holguin. They figured out that this guy could be a world dominant, and he has been that. The only knock on him, he's never had a 40 save season. He's
Right.
had a bunch of
Right.
he's had a bunch of 35 save seasons, and they don't seem to be using him as a closer anymore. He's a setup now to David Bednar, and last year he was a setup in Kansas City. It perplexes me why they don't use him as a closer when you probably have the most, still at this age, at 34 years old, 35, one of the most dominant relievers in baseball.
I don't look, and I understand also. Let's be on. Let's also be fair because we got to paint the whole picture. He's had his off the field trouble as well,
Yeah,
obviously, and his personality is he can come across as standoffish if you don't know him. He's not a person who's, for some. I'm not saying it's reality. I'm saying
yeah.
like what people think, their perception of him,
He's just a very
whether
quiet
fair
guy.
or not.
Yeah. Well, he's just a very quiet guy, nice guy, and he does a lot of stuff for players that people don't know about. Helps
Hmm.
out all kind of players, and it doesn't come out in the media. He's probably one of the nicest guys in baseball out of the Cubans, because the Cubans have there's a couple of them that you're like, oh man, but this guy, but this guy's one of
Right.
the nicest guys, and he does a lot of stuff that people do not know about that he doesn't make public because he doesn't have to. But uh he works with Hector Barrios. Hector Barrios, who's Puerto Rican, who is probably, in my opinion, is the best pitching coach to work with. He has 15 years experience, and I've talked with Professor Barrios, and I've seen Chapman, and I've talked to him. He's a pretty nice guy. He likes to keep to himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say that myth about him being standoffish is not. He's just shy.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
no, definitely. No, listen, I I get it, and I can understand that. I just think also people always gravitate towards the charismatic,
yeah,
like for example, it's night and day when you look at like an Edwin Diaz, right? Like an Edwin Diaz, like people love the charismatic relief pitcher. It's different night and day. He's out there pumping his fists,
yeah.
and he's very, outgoing. So it's different,
Good pitcher,
Um,
very good pitcher. Him and his brother, great closers.
the Diaz brothers, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
The Diaz
yeah,
bro, the real Diaz brothers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The real Diaz brothers.
The real
No,
Diaz brothers. Yeah.
no,
No,
pero
listen, it's great.
Rojas's uncle comes to me now. Yoelvis Fitz,
There
center
we go.
fielder. That
Okay.
if he would have come, if he would have came to America, he would have been maybe a guy that would have signed for some pretty good money. But he never did come.
So interesting. Talking about defectors,
Yeah,
also recently in the news, Julie Gurriel
yeah. Signs with the
signed
Braves.
the contract, signed with the Braves. What do you think
Signs with
about
the
that signing?
I think I think it's gonna be a nice addition to their locker room. And
Yes.
he's gonna be a backup to Matt Olson, because Matt Olson, if you look at that roster, didn't really have a backup
Oh,
at first base. And don't be surprised if he's there to mentor young guys like Ozzy Albies, like Ronald Acuna, like Orlando Arcia. Mentor them not that they're not good professionals, but to follow an example of a person that's probably one of the best professionals I've ever seen. And
absolutely.
no, I know well, his brother, the oldest brother, Unieski, very good friend of mine, and they're just very nice people, man. That whole family. His dad Lourdes, if he would have came to here, he would have been a a major leaguer for sure. But just a very nice family, from his mom Olga to his brother Lourdes Jr. Very united family, very nice people, very professional, very hardworking. His brother Unieski is an up and coming instructor, hitting instructor.
Wow.
In fact, that's who works with him. He works with a lot of Cubans in the off season. Unieski works with Victor Mesa Jr. He works with his brothers, obviously, and he works with you know who he developed into a good hitter, Mauricio Dubon
Ah, yes.
from
Yep.
Houston.
Wow.
Mauricio
Wow.
Dubon was,
Okay.
yes. So
Yeah, he
he's
couldn't hit. He couldn't hit
no,
when
but
he
he
first came up. He couldn't hit.
worked with, and then his brother. The thing is, his brother's a very underrated player in Cuba. His brother, imagine your father's a, a, a legend, right?
Right.
Your brother is a legend. Your other brother's a top flight prospect. But Yunieski Gurriel in Cuba made an All Star game, won a Gold Glove, and had over 1,000 hits. And he even won a batting title in the Can-Am League, which today is the Frontier League, which is not a bad league when it comes to,
Very
those are a lot.
competitive.
Yes, yes, yes. As a lot of players come from the system, from the that get released, go there and then go back into a system because it's a very good league.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Definitely.
no,
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And it's interesting we bring up Yuli Gurriel. It seems like he's played forever, but
yeah,
like there was a time where, and this is where the politics part like pisses me off because like I think here stateside we were robbed of seeing so many talents in their prime. Like Yuli Gurriel is the first one that comes to mind. Like we heard about him, he was the best player from Cuba by a mile for years. We didn't get to see
2000.
him in his peak here.
Well, we got to see him in international competitions. 2006 World Baseball. He was 20 years old, 19, 20 years old. But we missed a lot of players, man. We're talking about just that 2016. Look at
Don't mention. Don't. What are you talking about? I'm
all
just.
right,
Kidding. I
Puerto
just play.
Rico,
I'll say
Puerto Rico,
after
Puerto Rico.
2006. Go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
you had a guy named Michelle Enriquez playing third base. Probably one of the best third basemen we've never seen. A hitter like
Right.
Frederick Cepeda,
Cepeda.
who I was talking to the other day. He's a good friend of mine. Probably the one of the best switch hitters to ever. In fact, Frederick is a refined version of Kendry
Morales.
Morales. Yeah, I if I had to choose between those two, and Kendry was a hell of a hitter, I, I, I would take Frederick over Kendry Morales. All right, then you had Alexei was on that team. You had uh Ariel Petano, who's a heck
Pestano.
of yeah.
Heck
When
of a catcher. A
politics comes to
leader. A leader.
yeah, yeah, not the nicest person in the world, but yeah, he's a look at Pedro Luis Lasso. Guys that stayed in Cuba that would have been all right. Contreras got 50 million. I mean 32. Lasso would have got 50. Lasso
Hmm.
was a better pitcher than Contreras. If you could you could just see with the work he did in the 2006 semifinal against the Dominican Republic. Shut down a lineup that had Big Papi,
Oh
Albert
my
Pujols,
God. Oh.
Beltre. It was Tejada, a loaded lineup,
Disgusting lineup. Disgusting. That's a
up and
disgusting
down.
lineup.
I remember him throwing a fastball that moved, that went out and in. That Big
Uh-huh.
Papi just looked at it and just nodded his head like, I can't
Yeah,
hit that.
yeah, yeah. I can't do anything with that.
I can't hit that. So no, you don't know how much talent. And then there's not even all right. This is a guy, outfielder named Armando Capiro, who was compared to the great Roberto Clemente because they were around the same time. Never left Cuba because of the. Remember, 61 Cuba closes down. They gave him the choice: you either come there or you stay here. Whoever chose to stay was trapped
Right.
on that island. And a lot of great players: Antonio Munoz, uh, Germán Mesa, you name them, or Malinare. You had a bunch of players. I mean, and don't take this in the wrong way. Cuba has 6 Hall of Famers. If the island was open
Of
for all those
course.
years,
Of
we
course.
we probably have like 15.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
And
get it. No, you're right. You're right. When you think
that's
about all these guys, it is yeah, go ahead.
and that's nothing to take away from all the other islands because Puerto Rico has for being a small island has an array of talent. What Major League has done with making Puerto Ricans enter the draft to me is a crime because
That's right.
took a lot of guys that would have signed as free agents like they always had and made them choose something else. Like a lot of kids when they instituted that draft, a lot of kids took up basketball, reggaeton, anything but
Yeah, yeah.
baseball. Basically
Right.
killed baseball in PR because
Right.
PR had 80 players in the big league when they instituted the
Right.
draft. Yeah,
Right.
and it went from
Yeah, it was in 1990. What was it? I think it was 1990. Was it
was it
89? I think it was 1990. 1990.
was it? No, I think it was later than that, wasn't it?
I want to say 1990. I want to say 1990.
Oh,
It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it
nah, it
has.
doesn't. Thank God for guys like Tony Valentin and guys like that that saved the game in PR.
Yeah.
with those academies. I think Ivan Rodriguez has one too and stuff like
No,
that.
it's no, it's Carlo Beltran.
Carlos Beltran,
Carlo
Tony
Beltran, and
Valentin.
then they have the other they have the other one as well. It's three,
Okay,
really three
well,
official that are
thank God for
partly
those guys.
funded by MLB. But
Thank God for those guys because it went from 80 players to one in a span of 10 years. Basically killed uh, the actual game in Puerto Rico. I don't get it. How Puerto Rico has all right. They have their own their autonomy in international baseball. Yet you have to enter the draft. It doesn't make sense to me
right,
at all.
ridiculous. You
Yeah,
know who say, and I'll tell you something, and I really mean this, and I'm gonna say this, and I wonder what your opinion is on this. You know what really helped because Puerto Rican baseball was on life support many
yeah.
times, right? We talked about, before we talked about
The winter
the
leagues.
Winter League being canceled, which killed me in my soul, right? But 2017 World Baseball Classic, Team Rubio,
Love those guys.
that draft class, Correa, Lindor, and Baez
Yeah.
breathed new life. If it wasn't for them, there would
Oh,
be no Puerto Ricans playing baseball. They
that team.
saved baseball in Puerto Rico. That whole team.
That team in general, Lindor, Baez, Yadi, that was a great team, man. Kike Hernandez, great team they had there, man. Great team.
They
I
should have won. They should have won the whole thing. I think they sleptwalk in the final game against Stroman. I'm sorry. They should have beat Stroman. They
no,
took
and
them. I think they took them lightly.
yeah, well, I think Stroman took the mound with something to prove
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
comments made by Kike Hernandez about him, so he was really prepared to pitch to them that day. But Javi Baez against Holland against the Netherlands when he catches that ball, he's not even looking at the ball and he's
Yeah,
pointing
yeah,
already.
yeah, yeah. Oh my
Those guys.
God.
No, those guys are a heck of a team. That game against the Netherlands, that was a heck of a game, man.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
Sugar Diaz strikes out Vladimir Valentin. He
Valentin.
throws him a high pitch, and they get into it. He throws him that slider in the corner. Now that was just a good that was a great series. And international speaking of international baseball, if you think about it, last 10 years nobody has done well aside from DR winning WBC.
Right, right,
Nobody,
right.
yeah, nobody has won more games than Puerto Rico. I'm talking about Serie del Caribe. I'm talking about Central American games. I'm talking about Pan Am games. I'm talking about World Baseball Classic. The Puerto
Right.
Ricans, yeah,
The other tournaments, not just because
yeah,
people let me clarify this because
yeah,
people say, oh, well, Puerto Rico's won two Serie de Caribe in the last 10 years. If Puerto Rico doesn't win the Serie de Caribe all the time, or that we haven't won the World Baseball Classic, are like, people, okay, relax. There's more tournaments
yeah.
internationally. Go ahead.
No, and the thing is, all right, all right. Puerto Rico's done it with their double A players. I mean, they figured out a formula. Because remember, only in the World Baseball Classic can you use MLB players. All the other
Right.
ones, like the Premier 12 and the Serie Caribe, you can use MLB players, but you need permission from their teams, like Premier 12, a Pan Am games, Central American Caribbean games. All those games you can't use anybody on a 40-man roster. So
Right.
big up to the Puerto Rican Federation and big up to this guy that he was the manager of PR in the World Baseball Classic. He was a manager for the Marlins. Edwin, coño, ¿cómo se llama? Edwin
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez. Edwin Rodriguez, who's put together a lot of these teams, is 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 a key figure in this
Yeah. Yeah,
to
absolutely.
success, the Puerto Rican success. You gotta hats off to
Yeah,
you guys, man. You guys
absolutely.
did
Also, you got to give a shout out to Juan Gonzalez as well.
definitely,
Juan
definitely, definitely,
Gonzalez has been a manager for a lot of these
definitely.
young youth teams and has done a really great job on the island. And really, Puerto Rico acabó de ganar par de torneos también this year. The
Yeah.
girls won softball,
Well,
um, the softball cup, the
Copa
America's
del
Cup.
Caribe, Copa del Caribe, they beat Cuba. I mean, basically a double A team, the double A in Puerto Rico beat a Serie Nacional team. I mean, not didn't beat them, handled them, handled it. So
Yeah,
some of these guys actually ended up signing, but no, you got to give your respect to Puerto Rico. You can never, like I always said, I would rather play DR than play Puerto Rico. This is the reason why. DR. a bunch of power hitters, great team, MLB talent. But
Yeah, yeah.
there's a lot of swings and misses there. Puerto Rico, there's not a lot of swings and misses. These guys hit everything. They're contact hitters. Like um to piggyback off what Playmaker said. Even though I don't agree with some of the stuff he said,
He's crazy. Yeah, he's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, no, no, and Playmaker said calidad por encima de cantidad, quality over
Yep. Quantity.
quantity. He's right. Puerto Rico has what 17 big leaguers,
But
right?
now we got like 20 now. But
Okay,
there was a couple call ups. But yeah, go ahead. More or
okay,
less.
no, no, and you got your Correas. Javi Baez not doing well this year, but I'm confident he'll get his. Lindor, Sugar Diaz, his brother. You got Barrios, who's been
Jose Berrios. Yeah.
yeah, who's been unhittable. It's like you said, it's quality, quality. It's a lot of quality players.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing that people get caught up, and I understand that. I also blame a lot of this on the perception, right? Here's what I mean. If you go to MLB.com, if you look on the highlights, what do you see? Home runs,
yeah,
right? You see a lot of home runs. I myself, I post a lot of highlights of home runs because that's the
yeah,
only thing that's accessible.
yeah,
You don't see a lot. I try to show defensive plays. They don't
yeah,
show a lot of that. So what happens? ¿Qué pasa? Dominican Republic is known. They always could hit.
yeah.
Dominican Republic could always hit. So they got all the hitters, no doubt.
I agree. I agree.
And so I think sometimes we view the game in that lens where it's like,
Yeah,
I have a lot of Dominican friends who I've argued with. I'm like, well, you guys, ustedes se llevan demasiado en los honrones. Like everything is just home runs. Like there's a whole aspect of the game. There's defense, base running, there's
yeah, no.
pitching.
Well,
You know,
I like had this conversation with my wife, she's a sportscaster, and she's Dominican. She's like, you're
my wife is Dominican too.
yeah.
That's
She's like,
correct. That's
I'm in
crazy.
comments. I'm in comments. She's like, you're anti-Dominican. I was like, how? I married you. So she's like, because I told her, I was like, listen, the same thing, because we talked about this debate with a Franklin Mirabal,
Mirabal.
yeah, and the playmaker. I told her,
I can't stand him, but it's
now
what
he,
it is. I don't
well,
I
like,
don't I don't like him, but he's yeah.
uh,
I don't like him.
in person he's a lot different because I've met him in person. He's not.
No, I mean the
On the mic.
personality there.
Oh
Not
no
yeah,
no
yeah, yeah, yeah.
no no on the mic. Well, he's the Licey broadcaster slash fan. That's what he is on the mic. But I'm actually an Águilas fan, so that'll tell you about the rivalry. But I had this discussion with her. I was like you have 100 people in the big leagues. You had 11 All Stars, right? Including Cuban Americans. Last year, we had 33, and
Wow.
we had 11 All Stars. When you include Nick Castellanos, Nolan Arenado, who's half Puerto Rican, and you include a couple JD Martinez, we had 8 born on the island, and then you had
Right.
3 of
Of descent, Americans
heritage.
of Cuban descent.
Yeah, heritage, Cuban heritage. But with that being said, I was like, we had that's about 30% of our players went to the All Star game. You had 10% of your players go to the All Star game. And I explained to her,
Mm-hmm.
basically MLB strip mines TR. If we had academy in Cuba, like we would have 100
No,
players.
no, no, no. You're forgetting
Yeah,
one for each team. Forget about one academy. Ellos tienen en Dominicana. Y
yeah,
un
that's what I'm
saludo
saying.
a mi hermano dominicano. Un saludo a
Yeah,
ellos. Pero we
yeah,
gotta be on. Let's be honest, okay?
yeah,
Let's have the conversation. They
yeah.
have an academy for every
That's
franchise.
what I'm saying.
That's
You have
30
them
something academies.
in Boca Chica. There's a bunch of academies, like you said, one for every. No, and not to take away from the Dominicans, they're ultra
No,
talented.
no, great. Of
No, yeah,
course. They're the number one producer right now,
yeah,
talent. Yeah.
those kids eat, sleep, and crap.
Baseball. That's right.
Baseball
That's
for
right.
sure. And there's no argument. But but you gotta take into account a Cuban's plight to get to the big leagues. A Cuban
Right.
has to leave the island, sometimes legally, sometimes illegally. Sometimes
Right.
some of these guys have had to get on a boat
Lancha. En
yeah,
lancha.
lancha on a go fast boat and come
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. Then you have to leave your family behind. You have to adapt to a new baseball because Serie Nacional is a totally different game from MLB
Yeah,
or even the minor leagues.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
For example, I'm gonna give you a story. Some of these guys feel homesick and go back. Kid I know, great, good pitcher. Name was Roberto Hernandez, Cleveland
Okay.
Indians. Signed with the Indians, was the top pitcher in the Dominican Summer League, as you know, because all these kids that signed felt
Right.
homesick.
As a
Yeah,
prospect. Yeah.
he's on the restricted list right now for the Cleveland Indians as we speak. Decided, you know what,
Wow.
this is not for me. I'm going back to Cuba, and he did. I've talked to him plenty of times. I have his number. Good kid. He's like, man, I just didn't feel comfortable. I was in a strange land. My family's here. It had nothing to do with politics. It was just I just didn't feel comfortable. And
Right.
this is a
Right.
kid who had a 96, 97 mile an hour fastball. Was being groomed to be a future starter for the Cleveland Indians. Just said, hey man, I can't do this.
I
Which is
respect it though. I
yeah,
respect
no.
it.
And
That's the human
yeah,
element.
yeah. No, I talked to the kid. I talked great kid, hell of a pitcher. In fact, Japan would have signed him if he wasn't on the restricted list. Softback did look at him, but once you're on that restricted list, you can't be signed anywhere until they take you off that list.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
They ellos son los que mandan.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
know, they
No, but you signed a contract, so you can't break a
yeah.
contract if you sign one.
Right. Right. So let me ask you, right? Because one of the things with Cuba that I noticed is very interesting. Like you mentioned, obviously the percentages are very favorable as far as like what I like to call the hit rate, right? Where you guys hit. Like usually, what I mean, not literally hit. I'm saying the percentage of prospects who take off, right? Or players who really produce at that level. Um, Now, the one of the things that I've noticed though, there because of the politics or whatever or different reasons, there've been very few players, right? Cuban players who have had the career start to finish in the MLB level Hall of Famers.
Mm,
Or not even like at that great caliber. You know what I mean? Like, okay, 20 years old to
yeah,
35, start to finish.
because you gotta take
It's
into
yeah.
no. Is that I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off, my brother.
No, no, no.
That's
Go
not
ahead. That's it.
you gotta take into account since remember, all right, 2006 World Baseball Classic. That's when they really started coming. And you really got to take 2009, the class of Cespedes, Yasmani Tomas, and these guys. A lot of these guys came 26, 20. Like you're seeing it now with Jose Abreu. He's starting to decline, but he
Right.
came here 27 years old. You're not going to get
Hmm.
Yuli Gurriel came here at 32. You're going to get now players like Yordan Alvarez, guys that came up in their early 20s, and you're going to see these guys, Jose Fernandez, if he wouldn't have died, guys like that went through a system. I think is that we haven't been able to see that yet. Like we with Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, they've been through a system because of the situation in Cuba, where
Right.
to this day, scouts are not allowed to go there and sign
Right.
players. You're gonna see Yandy Diaz, who came up young, Randy Arozarena, guys that started in the system and came up young. You're gonna see it with those guys. Luis Robert, Yenio Cano, the reliever, Raizel Iglesias, guys that came over here young and came up through a system. You're gonna see that in the next 10 or 15 years, and then Jordan Alvarez will probably be the first that you'll see. What you were saying that from 20 to 35, because remember, a lot of these guys like Cespedes started what 26, 27.
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and you haven't really seen Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is another guy you're gonna see who's had a heck of a start this year.
Oh my God. I Let me tell you, I gotta tell you, it's not for nothing. He's one of my favorite players to watch.
Good player,
I
great family.
love watching him play.
Good,
Love
good
it.
player, good player, great family.
I didn't think he was gonna be this good. I'll be honest with you. I was like, because I thought his brother was so great
Yeah,
that I'm like,
and
but he's not his brother. You know what I
no,
mean? Like in your head, you dismiss him, but it's like, no, he's really good.
once again playing in the shadow of his brother and the shadow of his father. The
That's right.
the, the father Lourdes Senior is a legend,
That's
but
right.
no, my worry was him coming out of Cuba. He didn't have a position because
Right. Right.
they tried to match shortstop. He wasn't a good fielder there.
Nah.
Second base, I, what I was thinking he was going to be of a first baseman because it took him a while to become that because he's a great defensive outfielder. But seeing him in the Serie Caribe in 2016, which he was there too,
Yep.
The pass he would take to fly balls, stop your heart, man. Because
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But he's
yeah.
yeah. No, but he's developed into probably one of the best left fielders in the game defensively. It perplexes me why he has not won a Gold Glove at that position. And he was a key figure last year for Arizona, taking them to a World Series.
He was
You
huge.
know,
Him and
yeah,
between him and Ketel Marte. Ketel
yeah,
Marte is
hell
another
of a
one,
hitter,
a
hell of a
Dominican
hitter,
player that nobody talks about.
hell of a hitter, hell of a
Everybody's
hitter.
talking about everybody else except Ketel
Because
Marte is a really good player.
he's not a home run hitter. He's a guy who gets a hit, a lot of hits, hits a lot of doubles, steals bases. He's basically a spark plug, and he'll drive in some runs. No, he's a heck of a
And
player.
he's got some pop. He
Yeah,
can hit
yeah,
it out.
10, 15 home runs.
He's a line drive hitter.
Yeah, yeah, no, heck of a hitter. Somebody that you'll be, I, I'm more scared to face guys like that than the home run hitters
Yeah,
they have,
yeah,
because
yeah,
and he's a very electric guy. He's a spark plug for Arizona's offense. That's what
yeah.
he is.
I love watching him play. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
he's a really good player. That's why I love those two. Are my favorite two to watch. Like that are in other markets. I have the MLB TV app, so I
yeah,
go crazy. That's how I stay on top of everything. But yeah, really good fun to watch. So as far as I had made also on social media, I had made the comparison because of the two best Cuban hitters, really, as far as all around right now in Adolis Garcia, Yordan Alvarez. What are your thoughts on those two? Just comparing notes. Two different players,
yeah.
but
All
really
right.
good players.
Adolis has the potential to be a 5 tool guy. Jordan is a better pure hitter, no
Yep,
doubt.
yep.
Now,
Agreed.
Jordan is a very underrated outfielder. He can play outfield and he runs pretty fast. But Adolis could be a 5 tool guy. The only thing with Adolis what makes Jordan a better hitter than Adolis, Jordan doesn't strike out like Adolis does. Jordan has the same power, probably more power than Adolis, but Jordan is a better pure hitter. Jordan, when it's said and done, will probably be the best pure hitter to come out of the Serie Nacional. Not to come out of
Yeah,
Cuba, because you
yeah.
can't. There's this guy named
Right, it's hard. Yeah,
there's this guy named Rafael Palmero
yeah. Of course.
that
Right,
has
right.
that title, has that title. Pero yeah, Jordan, when it's said and done, will be a better hitter than Jose Abreu, who's a heck of a hitter. But
Yeah,
definitely, Alonis is more of an electric guy. He was also there at that 2016 Serie Caribe. Look who
yeah,
you had,
yeah.
Ciego Davila.
Oh
You had
my God.
you had Yuli Gurriel. You had a young Adolis. Adolis won a game for Cuba against Los Leones del Escogido in extra innings. You
I
had
remember.
you had Lourdes Jr. there. You had Yenyer Cano was there. You had a
Yeah,
lot of talent.
loaded. That team
That
was
team,
loaded,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and nobody knew it. And nobody knew it yet.
No, no, no. Well, I'm
You
not the
knew it, but,
yeah,
but I'm saying
right,
everybody else didn't know it.
yeah,
You
yeah.
knew already. You're like, I knew it. I knew it. I
I
told you.
remember
I told you. You're like this. I told you. I told you. I told you.
I remember sitting at home plate that game because that's the first series I actually covered as a journalist. 2016 Serie Caribe. I remember sitting behind at home plate with a scout from the Texas Rangers. His name is Jose Rafael Fernandez, also known as Gallego, who signed a bunch of players. Great scout. And we were talking about, and I was telling him like, look, because Cano didn't look good that game. He threw 4 balls and he was out. I told him, hey, this kid right here, and and when St. Louis DFA's Adolis Garcia, the first guy to jump
Oh,
on and with the Rangers, because he's a scout for the Rangers, was a Gallego. He was like, oh, look at this. I'm going to pick this guy up. And they got him on the cheap. If you look at what St. Louis did, they trade Randy Arozarena. They DFA Adolis Garcia and keep
yeah.
Harrison Bader. And
It's
keep,
insane.
yeah. Imagine those two guys. Those guys would have been cornerstones to that outfield to this
So
day.
interesting. Interesting. You brought that up, right? Because
Yeah.
yes, I was just thinking that as you were talking about. I'm like, yeah, Randy too. Here's
Yeah.
the thing, right? Usually, the crazy part about that is usually St. Louis usually doesn't miss when it comes to evaluating talent. They
No.
usually don't miss.
No. No.
So
No. No.
that's
That's
shocking to me.
that's actually pretty good. Well, and another guy that they traded, he has Tommy John surgery. Well, he had submitted himself, Johan Oviedo, who
Yep. Yep.
looks like he's gonna be a workhorse. His first full year as a starter on a decent Pittsburgh team, he goes 9-14, 150 strikeouts. He looked like he could be a good pitcher in the future. Another talent. St. Louis signs a lot of Cubans Well, obviously not like Houston, not like
Not
Chicago.
like Chicago.
No, Chicago,
No.
Chicago, Chicago made a trade and picked up this catcher from the Angels. His name is Edgar Guerrero, which will probably be the next great Cuban catcher. Which is not a lot. Obviously,
Wow.
obviously
There hasn't
catchers.
been a lot. Yeah.
No, no. Well, Yasmani Grandal, that's it. And Joe in the '60s, Joe Ascue. But obviously, catchers, you guys have that on lock. Puerto Rico, you
Yeah.
can't argue with Puerto Rico catchers. They're probably the best catchers in the game. Pero
Yeah.
yeah, you don't be surprised the talent that's coming up. Like I was just talking to a prospect right now, as well. His name is Yandel Ricardo,
I heard of him.
shortstop,
Yep.
shortstop, Kansas City Royals. I, I um I developed a lot of relations with these kids because I interviewed Yandel when he was 16
Wow.
before he signed, and we because I was in the DR, I was with my wife in the DR, and when I'm in the DR, I like to go to camps, to those where they keep some of the players because I have friends that own not camps, academies. I have friends that own some of these academies, so I was there. I interviewed Yandel Ricardo. This other kid at the Met signed that they got him pretty cheap because he was hurt. Adolfo Miranda. They signed him for
Okay.
$10,000. This kid's been compared to Jorge Soler. Very big kid, very lanky,
Wow.
very powerful kid. But there's a lot. Yandel is a guy can hit from both sides of the plate. Very slick fielder. He was originally supposed to sign with the Padres, but Kansas City. I think it signed Kansas City signed him for 2.5, something like that. But there's gonna be when that country opens up. Watch out for these for the international market. Like, and if you look at it, Cubans have been the guys that have signed for the most amount. Some good, some not, because you've had bonuses like Moncada, your favorite player. Uh, Moncada, yeah,
I think Moncada. You know, I know Moncada's been a gigantic bust.
yeah, yeah.
Compared to what I'm saying relative to compare. I mean, I heard he was like, he was supposed to be
What?
the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, I seen him play in Cuba with he's from Cienfuegos. Cienfuegos. If you look at that Cienfuegos team, Jose Abreu, Yasiel Puig is from Cienfuegos, Joan Moncada. They put a lot of players in the big leagues. But Moncada, what's been disappointing about him is injuries have stunned him, and
Yes,
also
yes,
his swing. He has a high strikeout rate. Is he talented? Yes. He was supposed to be a five-tool talent,
that's right.
but
Yeah,
injuries. But if you look at these
it's
guys,
unfortunate.
that these high-profile Cuban free agent signings have been hit and miss. I'm talking about the younger. I'm talking about the guys that are supposed to be like Yasmani Tomas and these guys. No, I'm talking about Luis Robert. I'm talking about Yohan Moncada. I'm talking about Yussiff Díaz. I'm talking about Yadier Alvarez, that's signed with the Dodgers. Guys that were giving high bonuses.
Younger profile, right?
Yeah,
Younger guys.
out of those four, two have made the big leagues. And uh, even though Yusniel Diaz was impressive when he played in the futures game, he hit two home runs in that game.
Yes.
So, but
Yep.
he
Yeah.
could never break through. Well, he made his big league debut with the Orioles a few years ago, but he never projected. Remember, he was a key component to the Manny Machado trade.
That's right.
Baltimore,
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Wow.
Baltimore gave up Manny Machado to the Dodgers, and they get Yusniel Diaz, who's supposed to be their keystone, cornerstone outfielder of the future, and it never panned out. Never panned
Wow.
out. Yeah,
Yeah. With these prospects, man, it's always a
hit and miss.
crapshoot.
Yeah, definitely.
It's and oh, remember we were talking about. I just want to put this on the record, right? So we were talking about Yordan Alvarez versus Adolis Garcia, and I'm gonna be the one to say it right now. This is gonna be controversial. This is gonna go here. Yordan Alvarez is better than Juan Soto.
That's not an argument. It's true.
He is.
Look at the numbers.
I say it. Look, if you look at the production,
Yeah,
if you look at the only thing that Soto does more is walk.
yeah,
Everybody, for some reason, walks have
yeah,
become the new home run. Everybody loves walks.
yeah, yeah. Well, because
Don't understand
sabermetrics. Yeah,
analytics.
yeah, sabermetrics. But this another dinner table argument with my wife. I'm like, Juan Soto. Don't take this in the wrong way, but Juan Soto's a little bit overrated.
Overrated.
Yeah,
Yes,
when
yes.
it comes to when
Very,
it,
very good. He's not aggressive, but he's great. He's a great hitter, right?
yeah,
He takes too many pitches for my liking.
yeah. Yordan is a better pure hitter than Juan
Yeah,
Soto.
absolutely.
and
He drives and runs.
yeah. No, he's but it's like all right. One beef I have with some Dominican journalists, which I'm not gonna name, they're
You don't have
they're
to.
they're fans. They're not journalists.
Right.
I can analyze a Cuban player without wearing this flag in my analysis. Like I can say, yes, Manny Tomas was a bust. I can
I'll
say,
give you
yeah,
before.
go ahead.
No. I want you to finish that thought, but I'll say I'm gonna give you the Puerto Rican one who I don't like. Go ahead. I'll
Yeah,
give you. I'll be objective, so you know I'm for
yeah.
real. Go
No,
ahead.
no, no, no.
Go ahead.
You're definitely your page is one of the most objective pages I've seen. Being that you're Puerto Rican, you're like us. We don't. I don't have a flag when it comes to being a journalist. If
Right.
you have a
Right.
flag, then you're not a journalist. You're a fan. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But yes, my Tomas was a bust. Rusney Castillo was a nice guy, man. Was well, Rusney was a bust, but you got to look at the situation. He came into probably the best outfield Boston's had in the last 10 years. You had
Yeah.
Benintendi, you had Mookie Betts, and you had Jackie Bradley Jr., who was probably for
Great fielder.
for
Great
like
fielder.
for like the last 10 years. I mean, the 10 years that he was one of probably the best
Ugh.
glove. And then you had
I wish he would have hit more because he was so fun to watch. I loved watching him play.
and then Rusney, this big contract, and then not only that, remember the guy that signs him, Ben Charrington, leaves.
Oh,
So
yep.
you got a new GM coming in. He's like, no, I don't want to be associated.
I don't want
I,
this guy.
no, and that play because Rusney for years killed it in the minors. Went to Puerto Rico, killed it. Serie Caribe, but he
That's
was
right.
just stuck there. But Rusney was but considering the contract, he was a bust. Yasmani was a victim of what we were talking about the other day, analytics. But you gotta say he was a bust. They gave him
Yeah.
68 million,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you have to be honest. In fact, the biggest uh how I say ganga was biggest discount whatever was
For our listeners out there, go ahead,
yeah
translate it. For the
ganga
other
is value value
Well, of
yeah
course, yeah. Value.
value was Yordan Alvarez. All right, out of all those signings the Dodgers made, Yasiel Puig, Alex Guerrero, Yasiel Sierra, you get this kid named Yordan out for $1 million. Hector Oliveira, all these another bust, all these big
Hmm.
signings, and you trade Yordan Alvarez, the Dodgers do, to the Houston Astros for this kid named was it Josh Fields with the relief pitcher.
Right, right.
You trade away your best signing to the Dodgers. You got him for $1 million, who's probably going to be a future Hall of Famer if you think about it.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
crazy. Yeah, no, you have to be objective when you analyze because if you're not objective, people are not going to take you serious.
So here's the thing, right? Here we go. Then this may be a little hard to believe for some people. I'm gonna say it. I am, and I talk to my dad a lot about él le gusta la pelota like me. We both the same, right? With that, I talk to him every day about baseball. I think Carlos Correa has not lived up to expectation. I am not a big Carlos Correa fan. Now I understand there have been circumstances. There have been injuries. I think in the minor leagues before he broke his ankle, he had to have a
Yeah,
plate put into it.
yeah.
I understand that, but I think relative to the expectation, um, Carlos Correa has not lived up to that expectation. Now in the playoffs, yes, he surpassed it, but I'm talking about year in, year out, number one all around pick.
Mm.
Carlos Correa has not lived up to billing. That's my
I,
opinion.
I have a sort of a different take. When he's healthy, he's probably the best player on the field. I think health has hurt him, but talent wise, and when his production in Houston and Minnesota, he's led those teams to the playoffs. So
Yeah, yeah.
I would say he's different to the situation of Yohan Moncada. Yohan Moncada has just not lived up.
No,
When
no,
he
that's different. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's different.
when this guy's been on the field, he's been as advertised. No, Carlos Correa is a good shortstop. Lindor is better, and even some people say, and I wouldn't say it as much, but some people say that Lindor's contract is kind of over
No, I get it. I
inflated.
get it.
I would
Eh,
have that take because Lindor will hit you 30 home runs a year and plays probably one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball, if not the best.
And he's been
So
snubbed, and because he's always got off to these slow starts,
always, yeah,
he's been snubbed of 2 All-Star nods. He should have been an
yeah,
All-Star 2 years in a row. You mean to tell me last year, Francisco Lindor? Let's be objective. You mean to
yeah,
tell me Orlando Arcia, and then the other guy, what was his name? Geraldo. What was the other guy from the Diamondback? Geraldo.
yeah.
Bedo.
Perdomo.
Those
Yeah.
guys are better than Francisco Lindor in the National League. Give me a break.
No, Francisco had a good. Perdomo had a good year. Arcia definitely had probably the best year of his career. Arcia deserved to be an All Star. So did Lindor. Perdomo was a late
Come
addition to the roster.
on, bro.
No, no,
Come on.
no. But no, but
Uh,
Lindor definitely deserved to be an All Star. I understand Arcia. That was probably the best year of his career, but definitely
yeah.
Lindor. Like this year, he's off to a horrible start.
Yeah, yeah.
One
Horrible start. Yeah, horrible start.
152.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he's starting to hit a little more now.
yeah,
He's getting base hits. I've been watching him. He's
yeah.
trying to come out of his slump, but it's
The problem
hard.
is he's a big swing and miss guy himself. But last year,
Yeah.
like I said, 31 home runs, 98 RBIs. The problem is his average, 254. He has to at least
It's
over
been going
270.
down.
Yeah, over 270. Because his OBP is awesome for his career is like
Yeah.
340. No,
Yeah,
he's
which is good.
no,
That's a
no,
good
awesome,
rate to get on base. Yeah.
awesome. And his OPS is 800. So that combined with his glove, he's an all around. But some people seem to have a problem with that. Was it 200 million that they
Oh,
gave him?
300. I mean, listen, people don't like, let's
Yeah,
be honest, people don't want anyone to make money. That's what it is, too.
yeah.
The contract, nobody lives up to these contracts. You
No,
think Shohei Otani is going to live up to that contract? Give me a break.
no.
Come on.
Show her time something that we've never seen.
But
But
he ain't going to live up to that contract. There's no way. He
I
may not
mean,
even pitch again.
this is true. But if he can if he could do because imagine we've never seen the likes of 30 home runs and 15 wins in a year. If he
It's
could
crazy.
come back and do that, but Lindor, look, Lindor's doing pretty good because not everybody can play in New York. You
Yeah,
know,
it's hard.
Yeah, no, Lindor's been great in New York. And I see has been an All-Star since 2019 in Cleveland, which is very very weird. A player of that caliber,
Yeah, yeah.
but
It's weird.
and considering the hit, how many hits does he have? He has 1,300 hits, and he's 30. He could,
If you look at his numbers,
yeah,
right? Like you said, if you look at his numbers objectively, and I did the homework, I compared his numbers to Barry Larkin. I
yeah,
compared his numbers to Derek Jeter. If he's got to get on track this year,
yeah,
but if he's consistent for the next 5, 6, 7 years,
yeah,
he's got an argument for the Hall of Fame. Now I'm not
yeah,
saying he's going to get in, but what I'm
yeah,
saying is his numbers will be on par with those guys. Not Jeter. Jeter, not
yeah.
contact numbers,
No,
power numbers,
yeah, I was gonna say
power numbers.
Jeter is in a class of his own.
Yeah, yeah.
Barry Larkin, I can see very similar guys. He has more power than
The
Larkin.
Barry Larkin. Yep.
Yeah. But very similar gloves, very similar leaders on their team, very similar spark plugs to that offense. If you look at what was it the 1990 Reds? I think Barry Larkin was the
Yep.
best player on that team.
Oh
Because
yeah,
aside,
he was a monster.
aside from Barry Larkin, who else did you have on that team? Hatcher, because Billy Hatcher was the guy that killed Oakland in that World Series.
Well, I think Paul O'Neill was on that team too.
Was he? Yeah, but Paul, I think Paul
He
O'Neill
wasn't. He wasn't anything yet. No.
no, Paul O'Neill was an 18 home run guy for his whole career. Paul O'Neill was
Yeah.
just a solid guy, a very solid right fielder. But we're talking about Barry Larkin. We're talking about a guy who's
Hall of Famer,
yeah,
MVP. He won an
yeah,
MVP as well.
yeah. No, great,
Yeah.
great player. A once in a lifetime player.
Yep. Definitely. So before we wrap up, give me your what are you working on with Pelota Cubana? Definitely, I want you to plug your stuff. Let
Well,
everybody know about Pelota Cubana.
no, Pelota Cubana, we've been around for 7, 8 years. We have 3 guys that are BBWA. Myself, Yordan Alvarez, and Javier Gonzalez. Hell of writers. We also have an English venture called Cuban Baseball Digest, like we were talking about for Latins that don't speak Spanish. Because there's a couple Latins that don't speak Spanish, and they want to know about certain players.
Right.
But
Right.
like on the island, I have uh, I have 4 or 5 writers. I have Rolly Diaz, I have Joan Luis Piedra, Miguel Rodriguez, and these kids are they keep us up to date with the and we have our statistician His name is Adrian Bernal. He's in Ecuador, and you also have Giordano and Javi. But and we also have this kid in Mexico that he covers the Mexican league. His name is Ariel Santa Cruz, who's a hell of a writer. Who does the interviews with all the Mexicans. He recently interviewed Henry Urudia. I don't interview Henry because of our relationship. Henry's a
Right, right.
yeah. Henry was basically he was the best man at my wedding. So he's a very good friend of mine. But we have people situated in different leagues that can and we also have photographers. I have one in Japan who you've probably seen. He's associated with. His name is Yuki Obashi,
Okay.
who's a very
Yep.
very good photographer. But we try to give the most professional coverage to this game possible because we want people to read. We don't like the sensationalism. Like for example, like when Chapman had that problem, we didn't write nothing about that. That's not baseball. You know,
That's right.
yeah,
That's right.
I try to keep that out.
That's the chisme. That's the chisme.
Yeah, we're not, that's for TMZ. That's not for Pelota Cubana. Yeah, but we try to give you the most objective and the most to the core news. We want you guys to understand. We want to make it to where people who don't understand Cuban baseball become experts, and we put it in the simplest terms possible so you guys can understand Cuban baseball. That's that, that's
That's
that's our
amazing.
that's our that's our mission. I don't like flashy. I like news. I like what it is. I don't make stuff up.
Meat
It,
and potatoes.
yeah, basically, if I give you something that's breaking news, better believe it. That's what it is because I do my homework. I have my sources. And sometimes the actual source is the actual player. That's how much confidence they have in us. In fact, I got a few breaking things that I'm holding on to for the winter leagues that you're gonna. I'll I'll tell you off the air, but in the
Yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah.
future, in the future that I was talking about yesterday about certain
Yeah,
things.
no, no, we definitely gonna work. We're gonna do more stuff in future
No,
for
whenever
sure.
you
That's
when, whenever
asegurado. We got it. Yeah.
sin duda,
So
sin
we're
duda.
gonna plug. We're gonna plug all your stuff.
Thank you, brother.
Everything's gonna be plugged. All your socials, everything. First of all, I want to thank you for coming on. It's a
Thank you for having
pleasure.
me. Thank you for
Nosotros
having me,
podemos
brother.
hablar. Forget it por una
All day.
eternidad.
And we do we do when we're
We
off
do
air.
anyway. We basically do.
Yeah, we communicate
It's
all
true.
the time. Communicate
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
time. Um, good news about the Industriales jersey hat is coming soon. As soon as I get it, I'll send it to you, my brother.
Oh man, I appreciate you so
Nah, no
much. Thank
problem,
you,
man. No,
man.
no
No,
problem, brother.
no. Listen, I
Oh,
appreciate you.
and no, and before I thank you, before I leave, I gotta give shout outs to other guys that do Cuban baseball. You
Go ahead.
got
Yep.
my good friend Francis Romero. He does his own stuff. He's that guy. That's the guy that broke the actual agreement between MLB and Cuba. Francis is a
Yeah.
hell of a writer.
Wow.
We have my brother Alfred Alvarez con la base llena. You have Daniel de Malas and Swing Completo. Those guys do a great job. You have Jorge Ebro from the Miami Herald, who's a
Wait,
hell of
wait,
a writer.
espérate. Yo, tell Alfred to give me a follow, bro.
I got you.
I watch his live all the time.
Good guy. In fact, I was with them 2 weeks ago at the stadium. Alfred's a very talented guy. Alfred is the voice for the Miami Hurricanes football in Spanish.
I had no idea. I've never
Yeah, yeah,
listened to
yeah,
the game in Spanish. That's
yeah, yeah.
crazy.
Alfred does a heck of play
I
by
love
play.
it. He is so. Let me tell you, it's not for nothing. Not because you know him or whatever.
Yeah,
He is such a pro.
yeah,
He is so
yeah.
non-biased. I think
Play
he's
by
a
play guy.
Yankee fan too. He's
Yeah, no.
One of the few Yankee fans I actually like. But
Oh,
but he's great.
he's he's actual authority on the Yankees. Alfred is one of the most talented play-by-play guys that I've heard in a while. You know what I'm saying? Out of the Latin, obviously, I'm not.
Alfred is a pro, such a
Yeah,
pro.
obviously, I'm not including Ernesto Jerez and those guys. Those guys
Oh,
are
those guys. Oh,
class
El
above.
Neto Jerez,
The
I
man,
love him.
the best.
Love him.
He's the
The
best.
best.
Yeah, I got a chance to meet him because Jorge Ebro and him are very good friends, and very nice guy, man. Very nice guy, very professional, very smart guy. Probably one of the best play-by-play guys the best Latin play-by-play guy I've ever heard.
Ever.
Ever. Yeah,
Yep. I love
yeah,
him.
yeah.
Yep.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. But no, I'll call for today. I'll have a conversation with him today. Good guy.
Uh,
Good guy.
all right, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, Yussiff Díaz, man. Pelota Cubana.
Thank you, my brother.
Follow him. Take a look at what's going on. We got Spanish. We got English. We got it covered. We got Miami. We got New York.
Yes,
We got it all
definitely,
covered.
definitely.
All right, man. I wanna
Yeah.
thank you for coming on.
Thank you
Listen,
very much. This is the
yes,
first. This is the
ya tú
first of
sabes.
many.
We always back.
First,
You could
first.
always come back. Always. You always
Whenever,
tienes la
whenever,
bienvenida. Ya tú sabes.
whenever you want me, I'm here, brother. Whenever you want me, I'm here.
I
Eh,
appreciate it, man.
eh,
Thank you. Dime.
all right, my brother. No, anything you need from Pelota Cubana, feel free to ask. And in the future, we're gonna do some joint things, some joint
No,
ventures. All
vamos,
right,
vamos a estar colando por ahí. Ya tú sabes.
for sure, for
All
sure.
right. Thank,
Uh,
thank you, brother.
all right, brother. Thank you, my brother.
All right.
Have a
So that was Yussiff Diaz, man. Let me tell you. Shout out to Yussiff Diaz for coming on. That was episode number 3. Make sure to follow us all. Follow Pelota Cubana. Follow Yussiff Diaz. That was episode number 3 of the Baseball Aficionado. And of course, as always, live life as if you're in a 3-2 count. Until next time.